Oh, he got one!
He's not even built the same as Jake. I would say Jake's a little bit faster than him. He has more power, but he's slower in distributing that power. And I feel like Anthony probably took him a little bit more serious just because he's actually a bigger heavyweight with power. And I feel like he did everything.
Are you going to get anything out of that sparring that's going to help you in your fight? Maybe you are. Maybe I'm just completely diminishing Jake Paul's ability, but I'm struggling. I really am.
Fair play to Jake.
Jake Paul's latest transformation has sent shockwaves to the fight world, unveiling a sharper, more powerful physique as he readies himself for a monumental clash with Anthony Joshua. His frame looks leaner, more defined, the product of disciplined conditioning and a laser-focused camp. The message is unmistakable. He has taken his challenge more seriously than anything he's faced before, building strength, confidence, and a sense of purpose as he steps toward the biggest test of his career. Tony Jeffers breaks down the possibility of Jake Paul pulling off a stunning upset, centering his analysis on timing, momentum, and physical evolution. He points out that Jake has been the more active fighter in recent years, consistently in camp, consistently competing. That activity keeps a fighter sharp, keeps their instinct alive, keeps the rhythm of combat flowing. Anthony Joshua, meanwhile, has endured stretches of inactivity. Long layoffs can dull timing, weaken readiness, and make in-fight adjustments far more difficult once the pressure closes in. Jeffers also notes age as a growing factor. Jake is younger, fresher, and still climbing toward his physical and technical peak, while Joshua is entering the later chapters of his career. And then there's Jake's transformation itself. His new physique doesn't just look stronger, it reflects commitment, maturity, and a clear evolution from the fighter he once was. According to Jeffers, all of these elements combine to give Jake Paul a far more dangerous edge on fight night than many observers are prepared to admit.
Looking at his box rec, he's had 6 fights since 2023, and one of them was against Mike Tyson. But we all seen what happened in that fight. Mike Tyson was well past his prime. Where Anthony Joshua, on the other hand, is, well, I'm not going to say he's coming into his prime because he had some great wins earlier on in his career before he lost to Usyk twice. And by the way, when he did lose to Usyk, the last one was a split decision. It was a pretty close fight. So now this fight is matched, and I just want to look at the tail of the tape. Now, looking at the age difference, we've got 28 years old compared to 36 years old. So I guess the advantage there goes a little bit towards Jake Paul. 28-year-old is better than a 36-year-old. But that being said, we've got talking about experience and everything else, what comes with being 36 years old at Anthony Joshua's level. And then, like I mentioned, the heavyweights kind of seem to prime a little bit older. Now, come down to the height and the weight. This is the big one. 6'1" versus 6'6". 200 pounds versus 252 pounds. We got a 252 pounder in Anthony Joshua. The reach advantage is a lot, which we would expect. Amateur fights, we can see that Jake's only had one, where AJ's had 43, but 43 of them are including at the highest level, Olympic level. And yes, he won the Olympic bloody gold medal, if I don't need to remind you. Now, then the pro record, Jake Paul has had 13 fights, lost 1. AJ has had 28 fights and he's lost 4 with 25 KOs. And the one person that Jake Paul lost to was Tommy Fury. Now, can we compare Tommy Fury with Anthony Joshua? Not at all. It's like night and day. So now I'm going to talk about the rules of this fight, and I'll give you my prediction, which is going to shock a lot of people after this. So, what are the rules?
Analysts are now taking a closer look at Jake Paul's sparring sessions with full-size heavyweights, breaking down what both sides stand to gain from these high-intensity rounds. For the heavyweights, the benefits are clear. A significant payday for working with one of the sport's most talked about names, along with increased visibility and a chance to showcase their abilities in a controlled setting. For Jake, the value runs even deeper. Sharing the ring with bigger, stronger men signals that he's approaching the Anthony Joshua fight.
I know they're getting a lot of money to be there, and it's easy work. But what is in that for Lawrence Okoli, Frank Sanchez, and Jared Anderson?
Easy money. I don't know how much he'll be paying sparring partners. I assume to get those caliber of sparring partners in, it's got to be big money.
Lawrence Okoli's got a fight coming up. If you're Joe Gallagher, are you go spar Jake Paul? Is that going to help you?
No, absolutely not. Are you going to get a bit of profile from it, perhaps? People are going to hear your name? Yeah. Does that help? I mean, we're going to spar with Kessler, and I've got 500 pounds or euros for the week. It was the hardest money I've ever earned in my life.
But how much did you learn from?
Yeah, me, bundles.
Yeah. What's the Coley learn? I don't get it.
No.
I mean, I do get it, the money. But when you got a fight coming up, I'm thinking, really? Are you going to get anything out of that sparring that's going to help you in your fight? Maybe you are. Maybe I'm just completely diminishing Jake Paul's ability, but I'm struggling. I really am.
Fair play to Jake Paul. I mean...
And you're right, there's a bit of a conflict there because Joshua used to manage him.
Yeah, it was through 258, right?
Yeah. But surely they're smashing him to pieces. Surely Jake's going, oh, what the fuck? This is fucking horrible.
Every single one of those three fighters there could annihilate him in a round.
Yeah, so are they not doing...
Tyrone Woodley offers surprisingly thoughtful breakdown when asked to compare Jake Paul with Francis Ngannou. He explains that Jake is noticeably faster than Ngannou, and that speed gives him a crucial edge, especially when you're dealing with a heavyweight the size and caliber of Anthony Joshua. Woodley adds that Jake's punches carry more snap than people assume, even suggesting that Jake produces slightly more power in certain shots than Ngannou simply because he delivers them with greater speed and precision. That blend of quickness and unexpected force leads Woodley to believe this bout with Joshua will look nothing like the Ngannou matchup. Instead of ending abruptly the way Joshua brutally dispatched Ngannou, Woodley predicts Jake will drag the fight into the later rounds. He believes Jake's conditioning, mobility, and willingness to take calculated risks will keep him upright far longer than the public expects. For Woodley, this matchup becomes a battle of endurance, technique, and pacing rather than one explosive moment. He sees Jake forcing Joshua into a full tactical contest instead of a quick knockout performance. Woodley then expands on contrasting dangers of facing Ngannou versus preparing for Joshua. Ngannou attacks with enormous, committed power that leaves openings. Joshua, on the other hand, is structured, disciplined, balanced. Against Ngannou, the threat is immediate and overwhelming. Against Joshua, the danger comes from his experience, patience, and ability to break fighters down over time.
Anthony Joshua fight. Do you think Jake has lost his mind? You know him probably as well as anyone.
I mean, Jake has been lost his mind. Like, what's new? Like, he lost his mind when he fought me. He lost his mind when he fought Anderson, when he fought Nate. He lost his mind when he wanted to fight professionally and switched over from amateur. It's really kind of been a theme. And I feel like the only person that hurt him ever was me. The only person that he lost to was somebody that actually boxed him, that actually took him serious, used the jab, moved around. And I feel like we've seen fights where Anthony didn't do that, and we've seen fights where he did. Depending on which version of Anthony Joshua comes out, depends on if Jake has what we would call a chance. When you fighting, if you got knockout power, you got belief in yourself, you got some speed, agility to move around, you always have a chance. You know what I mean? We've seen crazier things happen. Francis Ngannou is a terrible comparison to this happened to Francis. He's not even built the same as Jake. I would say Jake's a little bit faster than him. He has more power, but he's slower in distributing that power. And I feel like Anthony probably took him a little bit more serious just because he's actually a bigger heavyweight with power. And I feel like he did everything to make sure Francis didn't even get a chance to use it. So I don't have to make a prediction because I'm fighting, I'm not commentating. But, you know, I love when people doubt me, so I'm never gonna doubt somebody if they believe in themselves.
Do you think he has a chance, Jake?
I mean, people think I'm crazy, but they yelled at me when I said I thought the fight with him and
Smith says the decision to make Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul was far simpler than most imagine. They didn't spend time worrying about critics or public reaction. In his view, this is entertainment, business, and competitive sport converging. And when a matchup benefits every party involved, there's no reason to hesitate. He explains that both fighters recognize the opportunity immediately. Joshua secures a massive event that keeps him active and pulls global attention. Jake, meanwhile, steps into the biggest challenge of his career while earning a major financial payoff. Smith argues there's nothing wrong with pursuing a matchup that generates genuine excitement. Boxing thrives when fans debate, argue, and anticipate, and this fight does exactly that. For him, the decision was straightforward. Good for business, good for the fighters, and good for the market. He adds that boxing has always been driven by big personalities and bold risks. Waiting endlessly for perfect matchups only slows the sport down, while embracing unexpected opponents propels it forward.
40, but it's up there. Tens of millions, right? Tens of millions of pounds. Is your instant reaction, it's good for AJ, bad for Jake Paul? Or do you think about the AJ legacy conversation at that moment as well?
No, I think I've been in the sport so long where you see people, we live in a world now where you do something today and it's forgotten about tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? And you've got to do what's best for you. Our job is to do the best for the clients we represent. Anthony Joshua has been with us since he was turned out at the Olympics 13 years ago. We've got a lifetime deal with him. So our job is to deliver for him. So when you get a phone call with that amount of money, you're sitting there going, where has this come? Thank God. So it's not, don't get me wrong, we will always look at the optics of things, but we're logical. We're not fans. We're sitting there going, there's going to be people who say this is a joke, but our job is to deliver for him. And that is a fight that delivers for him. So we're sitting there going, happy days, all day long, we'll take the money.
And when you had your first conversation with Anthony about this fight, what was his take at that point? Was he initially hesitant, or was he immediately, for that money and that guy, let's go?
Immediately, yes, immediately. There was no hesitation. You got to imagine, he's been in there with the best fighters in the heavyweight division over the last 10 years. He's never shied away from a challenge. It's not the person he is. So when you say, do you want to fight a former YouTuber Disney star for a load of money in America in 5 weeks' time, he's going, that's a touch, isn't it? Because as any athlete, when you're going in there against Alexander Usyk, you're going to have elements of doubt. You're going to have elements of, this is hard. Like, he's bloody good. I would think, I'm not an athlete myself, but I would think that's what you go through. Whereas this one, it's just like, easy. I'd fight Jake Paul for a load of money. So he's obviously thinking, I'll do it. If I'm sitting there saying, I think it's more competitive, me and Jake Paul, than Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul. So there was no ounce of, is this the right thing to do? It was all day long, thanks very much.
And I want to talk to you about the art of negotiation, because I think that is one of your great talents. And I enjoyed watching the recent Matchroom documentary, and just watching you kind of like, I just think you think very strategically, right, about when people are coming together. So when the phone call first comes in from Jake Paul's people and they say, this is the fight and this is the money and this is the location, what is a good negotiation in that instance for you? Like, did you manage to up the money hugely? Did you manage to get certain clauses or deals in place that you wanted?
Yeah, always pushing to get more money or certain elements that work for you, and we did that in this instance. Boxing, though, as a business, is something that's so much led by ego, and that's the biggest downfall of people in boxing. Ego drives everything, whereas sometimes it's about, is this the best thing to do? Like we've been in places before where we're not promoting this show, for example. It's not on our broadcaster. We did a deal with DAZN to allow the fight to go ahead, who's Anthony's exclusive broadcast partner. And it was about, does this deal make sense? So when it came to the money, we pushed hard on the money. We pushed hard on all of the ancillary terms around it.
What sort of things are ancillary terms?
So whether it's flights, hotels, sponsors, all of the elements that come alongside it. Not so much in this fight, because officials, you could judge the fight because it's not going to go 8 rounds. But normally it would be.
Smith says the decision to make Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul was far simpler than most people assume. They didn't waste a moment worrying about critics or how the world might react. To him, this is entertainment, business, and competition all woven together. And when a matchup benefits every side, there's no reason to hesitate. He explains that both fighters recognize a clear opportunity. Joshua gets a massive event that keeps him active and pulls global attention. Jake, meanwhile, receives the biggest test of his career along with a financial windfall. Smith argues there's nothing wrong with a matchup that creates genuine interest. The sport thrives when fans talk, argue, and anticipate. And this fight does exactly that. For Smith, the choice was practical. Good for business, good for the fighters, and good for the marketplace. He adds that boxing has always been driven by strong personalities and daring matchups. Waiting endlessly for perfect fights does nothing but stall the sport, while taking risks and embracing unconventional opponents pushes boxing forward. He believes Joshua and Jake understood that completely. Both saw a massive spotlight and a chance to build something unforgettable. And Smith emphasizes that financial success doesn't cheapen a fight. It simply confirms the audience wants it.
Pro Boxing made a good point today. He said, I don't see that fight happening. I think they just signed it just to make people talk. He goes, I think Jake's going to wind up pulling out or something. He goes, Joshua has a fight scheduled against the Glory heavyweight kickboxing champion on February 14th in boxing. I forgot the guy's name. He's a Dutch guy. This could be just a sparring session on the way there. He goes, but I don't see, he goes, honestly, I don't see Jake actually doing it. This would be crazy. So you know what? I hope it's not a cock tease. I hope that
if it's not, let's go if it's not what happens, because you're talking to me on the phone the other day.
I can't see nothing else but a stoppage win for AJ. It's actually, if I'm really honest, if I'm really going to be brutally honest, it's actually the kind of fight where I can't believe any commission would even allow it, to tell you the truth. If I'm really honest, it's good. That's, typically commissions are very strict about matchups and, the kind of fights they allow you to put together, and for safety reasons and hazardous reasons and whatnot. So this is the kind of fight that actually surprised me they would even allow it. But I know Florida is a bit of more flexible commission than our stricter commissions like California, Nevada, Texas, and New York. But those are probably the big four. But Florida has its share of pretty big cards since COVID, so Florida's an ascending commission. And, the fact they allowed it is interesting. But you know what? It's something I got to think about. Will the fight actually go through? Because you can't see anything but a knockout. I was looking at the odds. I've actually already put in my AJ bets, and I've already on parlays.
Paulie Malignaggi is quick to cast doubt on whether this fight will truly materialize. He suggests the announcement may be more about stirring conversation than confirming an actual event. In his view, it's entirely possible both sides push the news out to ignite headlines, dominate social media, and spark global debate, only to walk away later once the attention has served its purpose. He argues that boxing has played this game before. Matchups are teased, hyped, and dissected endlessly, yet never reach the ring. His skepticism comes from years of watching the same patterns repeat. Surprise.
Joshua fight if you're Jake Paul, who hasn't fought someone in the top, realistically, the top 50. I know Tommy Fury is ranked in the top 50, but anyone that is a top 50 fighter, even in your weight class, let alone a top 10, top 5 heavyweight in Anthony Joshua, who was a 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. Can you get prepared for a guy like that if you brought in, let's just say, a deity, freaking Zeus, Hercules, whoever, to prepare you? Could you do it? I don't think that Jake would have enough time, seeing as he's already undersized. He's not a real heavyweight, and this is Anthony fucking Joshua we're talking about. But I will say there were rumors going around that Jake was not taking this fight as seriously as he needed to. That Jake was dilly-dallying, flying to go see F1 in Miami after his press conference, and then going to see his girl all the way in the Netherlands if she's trying to qualify for, I think, the Olympics or something else. There was this post from his girlfriend. I don't know if, again, this was in the Netherlands or where it was at, or maybe this is an old picture, but Jake flying around the world when he has a fight in about 4 weeks is probably not the greatest look, and it doesn't seem to make it look like he's taking it as serious as he needs to, locked away in the gyms of Puerto Rico. Now, again, that could have been a different picture. That could have been something else, but that's pretty shocking to see. With that being said, I want to push back on that because I do think Jake is taking this as seriously as he absolutely needs to, because this is not only the toughest fight of his career, it's the most dangerous to the longevity of his career, to his health and well-being. And so to do something like that, you need to bring in the best help possible to get ready. We already heard that Jake Paul was preparing for Anthony Joshua by sparring the guy that Anthony Joshua was about to fight in Cassius Chaney. This gentleman right here, who was 24-3 from B-More, aka the DMV, and apparently is a top 100 heavyweight, even though it doesn't say he's actually a top 100 heavyweight.
Smith says the decision to make Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul was far simpler than most imagine. They didn't spend time worrying about critics or public reaction. In his view, this is entertainment business and competitive sport converging, and when a matchup benefits every party involved, there's no reason to hesitate. He explains that both fighters recognize the opportunity immediately. Joshua secures a massive event that keeps him active and pulls global attention. Jake, meanwhile, steps into the biggest challenge of his career while earning a major financial payoff. Smith.
Anthony Joshua is a gigantic 6'6" heavyweight. Now, he is coming off of a devastating KO loss himself to another big heavyweight named Daniel Dubois. This was a big show. But Jake Paul, while, has a decent pop for a guy who has not been doing boxing that long, this is it's almost incomprehensible. This is the kind of thing the state would never have regulated before. They now seem much more open to it than they ever once were. But I also think that there might be something happening, and this is I'm speculating. I want to be clear. I'm not giving you skinny, but like I don't understand how you can go from a bout with a guy that you are massively oversized against, who's very good, to one who you are massively undersized against, who's also very good, who's a devastating.
That brings us to the end of today's video. Stay locked in, and until next time, if you want match to the exact word count, just say match word count.